Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Why the F Not podcast. My name is Stephen Brogan Cortez. If you're new here, this is episode 78. 78? 78. I just checked with the producers. Yeah, 78. We're at 78. And today, it's a friend, not from college, but a friend from my days at Rockwell Table and Stage. This is my good friend, Ashley Balderrama. She is a photographer, a theater enthusiast. She's a social activist, a photojournalist. Talking with Ashley was definitely very mind and eye opening, especially as her friend. I got to get a deeper view of like who Ashley is, but also what she does as a photojournalist, from going to like KKK rallies to like show people what's going on, to going to George Floyd rallies, or just showing what's going on in her community, the day by day. It was definitely a pleasure to talk to Ashley. I hope you enjoy the show now again in video. And you know what? I didn't know I was going to be doing this, but hey, have you subscribed yet? Have you subscribed yet? Go subscribe. Go comment. Do stuff. Share it with your mother. Maybe your mother's gonna like this. Maybe your father's gonna like this. Maybe your weird Uncle Joe is gonna like this. Show him. But without further ado, let's roll it. Roll it on. Welcome to the Why the F Not podcast with Ashley Balderrama. Cool. All right. So the show usually starts off with a nice little intro, so the folks get a nice introduction of who you are. But I'll give you the warm introduction now. Ashley Balderrama, welcome to the Why the F Not podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy I'm here.
Is this your first podcast appearance?
I think this is my third.
Your third? Oh, time out. Wait, what podcasts have you been on before?
So my cousin's wife, she was doing a podcast called Rad People. I did one with her, I want to say sometime last year. And then I did another one with this girl named Bree, who lives in another state, but got connected through her from some of the work I used to do before the pandemic at a foundation in West Hollywood. So just same vibes, talking about the same kind of things.
So cool. Oh, wait, yeah. What were those podcasts about?
I think, okay, so the first one was just my cousin asking me about like the work that I'm doing, and then I'm trying to remember what the name of the other one was, but I'm currently blanking. So
it's like, sorry to that friend. I'm sorry. Shout out to your podcast.
I had only like met her that one time. I mean, she was great and wonderful, but the other one was like with my family. So it was fun though.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was telling you before, this podcast, again, there's very chill vibes also. And we just talk about you and your art and your journey and where it all started for you. And like, I know you from Rockwell Table and Stage, RIP. And I think I witnessed I don't know if it was the beginnings of your photography, but I want you to start it off by letting me know, where did your love of photography begin?
Sure. I mean, it's so hard to like narrow down like specifics. I think I was one of those kids where like my mom would always try and get me like those like leapfrog cameras or whatever. I would steal her, like at the time, like like the flip phone camera phones. Like I used to steal her phone and take pictures of flowers or whatever, dumb things. And it was always just it wasn't really ever like, oh, be a photographer. No, nothing like that. And then in high school I took a photography class. It's the only photography class I've taken technically. And then my senior year, I ended up doing a lot of photos for a yearbook. So like one of my grandmother had bought me a camera, and it was like the nicer one I've ever had. And so I just like was taking pictures all the time, and ended up like going to, events in my high school and taking pictures there. And then used a lot of them in my yearbook, my senior year. And then went off to college or whatever. Still was like very much just a hobby thing, like on the side. Every time I'd come home or whatever, my friends and I would just like, I'll have my camera with me, and we would maybe go like, I think a couple times we'd go up to like the mountains of Hollywood Hills and like take pictures with the scenery in the background. Like, nothing like super serious, like literally just like, oh my God, take like pose, like really fun. And then I had a couple people like ask me to take like, graduation photos or whatever. Like it was very small, limited stuff. And then it just kind of like grew from there while I was working at Rockwell, like trying to go into this theater world. And then I was like, okay, like maybe I'm actually, making a little bit of money with this. Like this is interesting. And then at the time I just wasn't really loving my experience at Rockwell. You had left me, so I was like by myself. No.
Oh wait, when I left, it didn't go well. Wait, time out. Let's talk Rockwell for a little bit. Wait, time out. Whoa. So much was said. I gotta this is like my job as the host now to like backtrack, remember little things you said and take us back, and I want to like zoom in on them a little bit. So you said the only class for photography you ever took was just in high school.
Yeah. I like to say like now that I like graduated from YouTube University and I just like it's just like I've just been, every time I don't know something or like it's tricky or whatever, like I will probably head straight to Google and just like see if there's articles or videos. If not, then, reach out to, now I have like a community of like friends that are in this world that I can now reach out to. But before it was very much like on my own, just trying to figure it out. I never took any like college courses or don't have a degree in this field or anything like that.
That's so beautiful. And it reminds me of something I shared before with a friend about the gatekeeping of knowledge. Right. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like sometimes that's what college feels like, especially for those who can't afford it or just don't have access to college. You feel like that, that knowledge is gate kept from you. Right. And you can't, like, you want to learn how to do this A, B, C, or D, but you can't because there's a wall in front of you. But now we have YouTube and Google, TikTok, all these platforms that allow us to kind of dive into the, I don't know, we could call it the collective of minds, right? Of the human collection of minds, if you will. And like, if you want to learn something, search it up. And like, it might be hard to find, the right video or the right article that explains what you need, but damn, dude, that's dope, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously there's going to be some fields where like college is obviously very necessary or whatever, and like you probably need that for the resources that you need to get, but like in a creative field, like it, for me personally, I learn best by just doing it, experiencing it, trying it, putting it to the test, because that's the only way. Like when I don't personally like sitting behind a desk and like having somebody teach me and I have to read a book. Like that's not my thing. I'd much rather like go out and do it. And if I mess up, can I curse?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, cool. If I fuck up, then like, then, I fuck up and I learned from it. And I know that like next time I'm not going to do it that way or, I personally, like I've thought currently in the last couple of years, like, oh, maybe I should go, maybe take some journalism courses or whatever. And every time I tell another person that, like another creative in my field, they're like, no, just talk to me, we'll do something. Don't do that. Don't waste your money. It's not worth it. Like I started at a CSU in San Marcos, state school, and hated it down there. And so then I was like, I'm going to move home. And that's when I started working at Rockwell. Actually, I was coming home every weekend anyway, because I was interning there. So I was like, I'm just going to move home. And like, I'm a big supporter of junior colleges. So I went to the Pasadena community and just like was pursuing theater there and like loved every second of it. And also didn't have to like break my bank tremendously, and I was able to like work while I was there. Like I had a lot of friends who were just going to school, and by the time they get to the end of their graduation, they'd like never applied for a job or never done any of that. And and I'm like, oh well, I am very familiar with Indeed and LinkedIn if you need some help. Like
I got the resume builder.
Exactly.
I got you.
I was like, I got you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a lot that comes from doing and from experience. I mean, my theater teacher in high school, Miss Swan, shout out Swan, she told us all, like, I think it was like a group of us seniors about to graduate, and I think it was like the play production class with like all like the theater kids and whatnot. So there might have been underclassmen there, but she told us all flat out, you don't need a theater degree to be an actor. You don't. And like for you, a photographer, you're a journalist, even a photojournalist, right? I don't know what other titles you claim for yourself professionally, but unless you're looking to, I don't know, unless you were looking to go into like right now, right? Without any of the experience you have, if you're wanting to go work at CNN or some sort of big news outlet, right? They probably do want, you know, some sort of credentials when it comes to, you know, do you have a degree? Do you have this? Because if you don't have experience, the degree can substitute for that. But there's something experience that experience gives you that is irreplaceable. You can't deny that.
Yeah,
you're proof of that, even, man. Like you're proof of that. And even going to like Pasadena community college, right? Like, dude, like first off, Pasadena is beautiful. First off, beautiful. And also Pasadena Community College gives me the same vibes that Pierce College gives me in the Valley. Where they're community colleges, but they're like dope schools. Like they don't, like, you'll get a good education there, and like you said, you won't break the bank.
Yeah, you're literally like, some of my teachers also taught at Cal State LA, so I was essentially getting the same education, but I was able to like afford it myself, you know, like be able to like put myself through most of my schooling, other than if I were to be at, you know, a state college or a fancy private college. Like I would have taken out millions of loans and all this stuff, and I'd be like in some major debt and stress right now. And I'm like, I'm blessed that I didn't have to do that, and it's very much privileged that like I was able to work while I was at school to be able to do all of that.
Yeah. Oh man. So let's talk Rockwell now. And for those that don't know Rockwell Table and Stage, let's paint a picture. Rockwell Table and Stage was a cabaret dinner theater spot, if you will, bar dinner theater experience in Hollywood, California, right off the 101. Dope little spot. That was it was a residency house for Jeff Goldblum and his jazz band.
Yes.
That was one of the coolest things, honestly, that we could say, that we got to like hang out with Jeff and just, you know.
I know. I always tell the story of you and I sitting in the office. You were like, we were working on the seating map or something before his show, and you and I were sitting there, and all of a sudden he walks in and he's like, "Hey guys, can I eat dinner here? Like, is that okay?" Like at Kate's desk. And I was like, we were like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, go right ahead. And so you and I are just sitting here working, and we're like so tense. We're like, oh my God, Jeff Goldblum is like here. You know, like we see this man like every week, but still we're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then he's like, okay guys, have a great night. See you later. And he walks out, and you and I just like grabbed each other. We were like, did that just happen?
We were breathing the same air as Jeff Goldblum.
Literally, we were like, oh my God. Like that's how I felt every time I was in the room with him. Like, oh, my biggest accomplishment in life.
Yeah.
Being near that man.
And honestly, like working at Rockwell gave us a good perspective of these celebrities we see, and seeing them in a more realistic perspective. Like Jeff Goldblum is definitely like the way you see him on TV, his personality. Like we definitely didn't see him like the way he is at home. You would you know, right? Like we didn't see him like that at Rockwell. But the way you see him on TV and screen is like the way when he's just is like, he's very down to earth, and like we got to talk to him a lot, just hanging out, like his band.
I mean, granted, he like barely ever remembered my name, like, but like I didn't care, honestly. I was like, he most of the time he remembered my face and knew that I worked there, and that's really all I needed in life for me to be happy, healthy, and safe. I was like, Jeff Goldblum knows my existence. I'm period, done. And
I don't know if he knows this, but till this day, I still refer to him as Uncle Jeff.
Same. Literally same.
Like when I see him again, whenever, wherever that will be, I'll be like, Uncle Jeff, and he'll be like, Uncle, I'm your uncle. I'll be like, don't worry about it, man. We had dinner before. Let me hug you. Let me smell
like,
you.
It's a thing.
Dude, so yeah, Rockwell was just a spot that had Jeff Goldblum there on Wednesdays. They had their Unpost series, their unauthorized musical parody of series, where Kate Pazakis, shout out Kate, She was the producer there, right? She was, because I was there when I got there. She was still the main producer, like when I got there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if was there someone there before her.
Yeah. So there were some other folks. I'm totally blanking right now, but they did the like.
Oh, the Tarantino show and all those.
Yeah, exactly. But I think she was still kind of involved somewhat in some of that stuff. And then it became fully her, and that's like how I got involved. Actually, well, technically, my mom, she was already going to shows there with one of her friends, and then I came home from college one weekend, and my mom was like, "Let's go to a show," blah blah blah. So we went to go see one of the shows. I think it was The Love Is About. No, not that one. It was a different one before that. I can't remember, but
was it like part of like the Tarantino production, like those folks?
Yeah, it was those folks, or maybe not. I don't remember.
Wait,
it was a long time ago.
Wait, time out. What was that? That's gonna bother me because that was those Tarantino shows. Because those shows were fucking amazing too. Because it was
okay. It was the Baz Luhrmann.
Oh, okay.
Stuff.
Oh, that one.
Time. That was the first time. I think that was the first show I ever saw. I think my mom was going there before that.
And was that when Rockwell Stage was only half that room?
No, this was after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was after that.
The history of this place is so rich.
I know it is, and so many people have like been in and out, and and like big names, people that are still out in this business, like killing it and doing amazing, but. So many people.
I've legit watched Broadway stars, fucking Hollywood TV and film stars perform, sit down and eat. Dude, fucking Chris Hemsworth Clark Kented me. Did I tell you? Okay, so I forgot what show this was. Oh, sorry, it was Jeff Goldblum's show. So it was probably when Jeff was filming for Ragnarok, and that's when he was in the movie with Chris Hemsworth. And one day, this tall, strapping Australian gent wearing a cap and glasses walks to the Rockwell Table and Stage little, the host setup, and I'm there in my window, and I'm like, "Oh, hi, do you have a name under tickets?" And I'm in Jeff's party. I'm the producer. I'm with them.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, "Oh yeah, no worries, man. Cool. I sit him, no big deal. I come back to my spot. I go home after the night. I'm laying in bed, and I'm like, that was fucking Thor. Wait.
Oh my god.
That was Thor. He was there. And freaking
I would have died.
I'm glad I didn't know because I would have frozen. I don't know. Did you ever have any like truly freezing your shoes moments seeing like a celebrity at Rockwell?
Oh god, that's a good question. Honestly, Jeff Goldblum is one of my favorite people on the planet. So every time I saw him, I was kind of like that. I don't know. There were so many folks that went in and out. Like the one that I was really upset that I missed because I had just left the building and no one told me was Zac Efron was like on the patio side. It was during A League of Their Own. So it was kind of like towards the end, like when I think that was like 2018 or something. And I literally just left the building, whatever. I get all the way home, and then I think it was one of the hosts at the time or something. They texted me and they were like, "Oh my God, Zac Efron, just came in from the patio side." And I was like, what? And Seth Rogen.
Oh, it's when they were doing Neighbors, probably.
It was because Seth Rogen's wife loves A League of Their Own or something. Like it was one of her favorite movies, and so they came and saw the movie and everything. And I showed up to work next day, and I was like, I went up to Wayne, who was one of the owners of Rockwell, and Wayne. I was like, shout out. I was like, why did no one tell me? I would not have left the building if I had knew that Zac Efron was right downstairs. I probably walked right by him as I clocked out and everything. I was so upset.
And Wayne was probably like, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I didn't know you wanted to see him. Well, I'll let you know next time, okay?"
No, legit. He was like, "I got a picture for my niece. That was about it." And I was like, "Oh my
It's
God.
Not helping, Wayne. You're twisting the knife, man.
I know, exactly. But I literally so many people, a lot of Broadway people too, that I think one of the times I freaked out was when I met Ben Platt. I was like, I didn't even say his name was Ben Platt. I was like, "Oh my God, that's Tony Award winner for Best Actor in a Musical, Ben Platt."
Is that Tony Award winner, Ben
name.
Platt? Is that Broadway
Literally,
performing
and
Ben Platt?
literally me. I was like, oh my God. And I don't normally stop and ask these people for pictures or anything like that. But he was one where I was like, I can't not ask him for a picture. Like, it was right after he had won the Tony and everything.
Wow.
That was like during Breakfast Club when he came to see
Jonah.
his brother. And yeah, and I was like, oh my God. And like also kind of felt like that with Marissa when I first met her, because, you know, Hairspray was like, I mean, love that musical. It's just literally I used to spend like an entire summer watching it, and I knew about her. You know, I'd be like, oh my God, I listened to you on the way here, like random, you know. And now I would say we're like on a very different level where, you know, I've worked with her so much that like she knows me now, and it's very much not like that. But like when I first met her, I was like, oh my God, that's Tony Award winner Marissa Jarrett winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, were you freaking out? Really cool. Did you watch her on Celebrity Big Brother?
I did watch her.
Shout out Marissa, Celebrity Big Brother winner.
She kicked it, exactly. I think I'm also remembering, like, Dick Van Dyke was also at a Goldblum show, and somebody had told me about it, and I stayed the entire show, and he was sitting like one of the tables right in front of the sound booth. So I remember like walking right behind him, and I stood in the sound booth just so that I could like I'm like, oh my God. And like Harvey Weinstein was there, or not Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, you got so excited for that. You're like, dude, Harvey Weinstein was there. You can't believe it. No, he wasn't there.
No. What's the name of the guy also from Hairspray?
He played the mom, right? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
We got to get his name. We are gonna get his name because you mentioned Harvey Weinstein. Oh Lord. No, why am I googling Weinstein?
No.
I'm gonna Google Mrs. Doubtfire because he was also in Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. You are talking about the great Harvey Fierstein. Harvey Fierstein. So it's not your fault.
There you go.
He's a letter away. Fierstein.
Yes, that was the night where my grandma was there. My grandma was like, oh my God, come take a picture of me with him. And I was like, I can't, I'm working. I have to be professional.
Sorry, Mom. I can't, Grandma.
I had to get somebody else to I had to get somebody else to take a picture of her with him because she was so excited.
Dude.
Lots of people.
I think the one time I truly froze at Rockwell with the guest, someone coming in, was Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh.
I forgot what show he came in, but it was for one of those post shows, and I froze. I was like, you want to see? Yeah, you here. It was. Dude,
that's a good one.
Another interesting moment I had at Rockwell. One of my favorite stories to tell, just because of like, just to show how fluid sexuality can be, even when you can't expect it. It was for Courtney Act's show. Do you remember her, the drag queen? She was on.
Yes.
She was in RuPaul's Drag Race and all that. I think she won second place. That was like her thing or whatever. But shout out Courtney, Australian queen. She came to perform at Rockwell for one of her shows, and I remember meeting with her before she was in her getup, right? And I was just helping him through the whole set, and then he became Courtney, came down, we went through it, and then I walked her back up, and I caught myself staring at her butt, and I was like, wait, that's a dude, wait, but that's a nice butt, but that I feel different. I feel different.
You can't deny some of the they looked amazing. They're there, like, and I'm like, wow, what an amazing opportunity we have.
Dude, right. I heard one. So Darren Criss popped up to Rockwell many times. Darren's a sweet guy that would just pop up because he had friends who were in the show. He was friends. I think he's friends with like Emma Hunton, right? Who is out on Broadway, and again, like,
kicking it. Love her.
Rockwell was just a great place. Like, for me as a performer, it was a great place to just sit down and just watch and just workshop and take notes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think like I also, like, growing up, I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be, whatever. That's how I got my start in theater. But very much like when I was in college, I very much wanted to learn the production business side, as well as like lights and sound and all that stuff, like stage managing and all this stuff. So I very much was like on a different side, where I was very honored to like learn from, some of the lighting people, some of the sound people, from Chad McMillan, love him. Like, shout to learn Chad. From like, love him so much. So very much like learning all of that. And then, the producer side, like learning from Kate. And she gave me like some great opportunities to put that to the test. And very much I loved it there. I will not, I loved every, day there. I enjoyed the work. The work was my favorite part. I loved being able to be a part of such amazing creativity and like part of those shows. Like I was so happy. I think the aspects I didn't love was that it's a restaurant, and like working in food is a lot. And like that was the part that I didn't particularly gel with, and realize that like at the end of the day, like my mental health and like being able to like do all the creative stuff I wanted to do was hindered because of the stress of all that other stuff. So I decided to quit, and that's probably the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Hey, take care of yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
were you doing more work than just being a host?
Oh yeah, I mean, in the last year, I was the production coordinator and box office coordinator, and then I also produced some of the like special events that we did. Like we did Midsummer Scream, we did like a comedy festival, and I produced like those extra little things that I did all the Pride for 2 years. I did put Rockwell in Pride, so that was like. And then I was also stage managing at the beginning of that. So I was assisting Chad for a lot. And so I was doing a lot more than just like the restaurant stuff, but like a lot of still that stuff.
Wait, time out. Wait, yes. Memory is coming back. It's all coming. It's all coming back to me now. So because if I'm remembering, you took over Stephanie's job.
Yes.
That's what it was. You weren't just a host. You weren't just interning. Now I'm remembering when shout out Stephanie Lazard, when she left, you took over for her.
Yes.
That was a huge, huge role to fill. So you were also hosting?
I mean, yeah, whenever like, sometimes if
When someone
not
dropped
like on
out,
the regular,
but like, okay, good. Okay.
I would be there if need be, but like for the most part I was still kind of like doing seating maps for everybody, and trying to make
time out.
the host.
As an old host at Rockwell, why are they making you do seating charts? Excuse me. The host should be doing it. Get it together.
Like I said, there was a lot that towards the end there that I actually had quit Rockwell before I got that position. I had quit Rockwell and I wasn't a host at all anymore. But I was assistant stage managing. So I was still in the building, and then I had heard that Stephanie was, going to quit and they were going to fill the job. And so when I first got hired, they were going to split the role. And like, I was only going to do box office coordination, I think. And they were going to look for somebody for production coordinating. But, in the meantime, while they were doing it, I was doing both positions. And then after like a month, they were like, you just want to keep doing it? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Pay me more.
Oh, absolutely. So I was just like, yeah, cool, yeah, that was my job now. And so I was doing that, but I was also still coming in on the weekends and like doing some of that stuff. And
yeah,
I spent a lot of my time there.
Oh, likewise. The restaurant side of it, especially when you're the host, can be crazy. Like not just dealing with seating charts, not just dealing with guests, but like having to deal with the servers, having to deal with the bar keeps, like if there's a problem with Alex behind the bar and someone Alex always had someone mad, and I'm like, Alex seems so nice. Why is he? What's Alex? What are you doing?
I know. There was a lot of mediating.
So much mediating, but I don't know how it was for you with like the boys, because all the servers were these good-looking boys for the most part. Chris and Wayne, they were like, you know what? We know our clientele. We know what they want to see. Let's get them cute boys in here. And a lot of those good-looking chads out there, they were, not all of them, of course, but there were some in there who were creative artists within themselves. Like we had good old Christian James there, who's on the CW. We got B. Martin, who's like throwing out beats and making his music. Yo, man.
Yeah.
It's just wild, the people you meet, not just, the performers and stuff, but the people you work with, like.
Right. I mean, we're in LA, so like almost every server and waiter that you have in this city wants to be an actor or wants to do something creative. Like that's just kind of like how people get their start here. And that's definitely how people were getting their start. I mean, like like Damien, for example, like he was one of my closest friends because he was half Puerto Rican, just like me, and like it was I loved him so much, and now he just did, like an SVU episode, and I'm like, I just feel so happy to like see some of the people I've worked with, and like I'm like, wow, that I feel honored to have had like a special little moment in their timeline. Like it's really cool.
Heck yeah. Well, let's
Yeah.
get the spotlight back on you. Let's put it back
Sure.
on you, Ashley. I want to talk about not just your photography, but I want to talk about your photojournalism. The like I want like even just I have your page up here, and I have your Giggle Snaps page where you see all these photos, and it's not just of people protesting or people expressing their rights for for civil liberties and whatnot, but you also have just community photos. You shoot everyday life of what's around you, it seems. What sparked all of that? What began that for you?
I mean, well, obviously, I was already doing photography. I was doing like portraits, like lifestyle events, blah blah blah. And right before the pandemic, I was about to start like a job as a lead photographer at this business that Tyra Banks was actually starting. Like I was about to be able to like afford to move out of my house and all this stuff. Like it was about to happen, and then the world ended.
Corona.
Corona and that good old COVID just came blowing through. We got laid off. Like everybody got laid off from that job. I was pretty butthurt for like the first couple months of that pandemic, and I had to be really, really careful because my mom had gotten it like just maybe like a week or so in or something like that, and it was very serious. It was like before anybody knew anything. It was a lot. It was very, very stressful, and then I also lived with my grandmother, so I was being very, very careful in regards to making sure that I, was staying in and all this stuff. And then after like a certain point, I think it was like May or something like that. I was like, I was like at home doing self-portraits because I was bored and, still needed to do something photography related. But I was like, I got to get out. I got to do something. So then I started portraits. So portraits on people's porches. So started that. And that was kind of like my first dive back into, my work I was doing, and it was completely donation based. People could pay whatever they wanted because I knew it was hard and for everybody to afford to do things. I just wanted to work. Like I really didn't care. Like, and half the time, like they're my best friends, so I just made their entire donation. So I was sending 50% to Project Angel Food, which is an org I worked. I did a lot of volunteer photography for before the pandemic. So I was sending 50% of each of my shoots there, but most of the time I would send the entire thing because I didn't need the money. They were working really hard, especially in that time. So yeah. And then all these stuff with George Floyd started and protests and whatever. So then I ended up splitting that and sending another sending 25% to BLM-LA and then another 25 back to Project Angel Food. And again, sometimes the entire thing just got donated. And so I was doing that. And then some folks in the neighborhood that I am from decided to start having like weekly Trump rallies on like our main block.
Like pro-Trump people. Okay.
Yeah, and they were getting like pretty violent and pretty like just like hitting people's cars or like yelling at people, flipping people off. And this was just like I don't know, like maybe 15 something people standing on the side of the road with their signs.
Wait, time out. This is 15 people?
Yeah.
Making a ruckus?
Yeah.
Like here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can be pro-Trump and I will love you, but why the fuck you hitting people's cars? What are you doing?
Yeah. It was a lot. It was so that's it got a little crazy for a little bit, and then then some people started to counter protest them. It was actually started just with one girl and her husband who would go out there every Friday and stand across the street from them with their BLM sign and everything. And I was like, that's so cool. And at the time I was doing portraits, so I would drive by them as on my way to a shoot or whatever. And I never got out, but I just was like, oh, that's amazing. Good for them. Like I wish I could be there. But again, I was like being careful, so I wasn't really protesting at the time. And so then it kind of ramped up. The other folks in counter protesting got a couple more folks. I got out of the car one day and just like, I have to take pictures of them. I just want to document. It was Breonna Taylor's birthday, actually, the day that I did that.
Mm.
And so they had balloons and like, it was really, they had like happy birthday Breonna signs and everything. So I was like, let me get out. So I took a couple pictures of all the folks that were standing there. There was maybe like 7 or something like that, counter protesting the Trump people on the other side. So that was my first time. And then like the week after that or something like that, was Juneteenth. And the Trumper people on the other side said, they posted on community pages that we're going to have a Blue Lives rally this Friday on June 19th. And I was like,
I mean, they could have had it June 18th. They could have had it June 20th.
Mm-hmm. But it just so happened to land on that Friday where they've been doing this weekly Friday thing. So that's why in their heads, they're like, yeah, we're going to do Blue Lives. And so a couple of us were like, that's just not going to stand. We're not going to, let that be a thing. And, there's a lot of, smaller stuff that went into it, but essentially got a lot of folks to come out on Juneteenth to counter protest them. And that was the first time that, and they had a lot of people, we had a lot of people. It was a very interesting day, but it was also very beautiful. Like, I just was like, oh my God, I can't believe this many people came to Tujunga, which a lot of people don't realize is city of LA. Like, it's just at the very, very tippy top, but like it is city of LA. Like, we're dealing with, LAPD here. It's not, it was very interesting, the dynamic, but it just looks so far away on a map. So a lot of people don't even come out, but we got so many people that day. People from like the OC or like a little bit from the Inland Empire. Like, it was just such an array of people, and it was great. And it was a beautiful day. And so then an org formed from some of the people that were locals there. I was part of it. And so we started doing like weekly counter protests against the other folks. And I was just documenting. I just like wanted to document for the org. And then I ended up running the social media. And so then that's where I was posting my work, because I was doing it anonymously, because I was trying to keep my family safe and myself safe. Like, I knew some of the folks on the other side. Like, I had to be really, really, really careful about, like, I would make sure, like, at the time I had colored hair, so I'd make sure like you couldn't see my colored hair, and I would cover my tattoos and like always wear a mask, obviously, but always wear a mask. Like, I had to very much be like as anonymous as I possibly could be to do this work, to take those pictures. And
it's like you're Batman, dude. It's like you're a super, like, low key. It's like you're a superhero having to like mask your identity to protect those you love.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. I did it for a really long time because it was just a very touchy, time at the, I had to be very, very careful. And so, so it started documenting all that. Then that blew up in this final one in August, which I have a zine from all of my images from that day. I made a book. And so
you made a book?
That I did.
Does it have a title?
It's called Get Your Boot Off My Neck. It's on my website. It's literally just a picture book. Like, there's just a bunch of my pictures from that day.
Well, yeah, we're gonna mention at the end of the podcast. We're gonna make sure to mention that, because there's a segment at the end where where you get a chance to mention anything you want to plug that you've worked on. So yes, I would love to mention your zine. That's amazing.
Sure. Yeah. And then after that, I started venturing outside of Tujunga a little bit more, and was going down to the OC a lot, Seal Beach, was doing a lot of, and that there's also a very large, like white supremacist group down there, or like, community, whatever, down there as there is in Tujunga. So went to a lot of very scary stuff at the beginning there. But definitely, even though it's traumatic and scary, it like definitely made me a lot stronger. And like, I think I always said, like, during 2020, it was like, Ashley a year ago would not be able to it's like, she didn't have the balls to do what I'm doing right now. Like, not at all. But like, putting myself out there more, saying like, why the fuck not, is like how I got to like it's not comfortable, but like being able to hold myself in some of those like very stressful situations. And so and then I started doing a lot of impacted family work. So basically dealing with families who or like documenting the actions of the families who have been impacted by police brutality. A lot of them have lost their loved ones, their mothers, best friends, sisters, husbands, brothers, sons, uncles, whatever. Like, all these people who have basically have like such similar stories to George Floyd, for example. Like, that's just what everybody knows. But they're here in LA. They're dealing with the same exact issues, the same exact, justice system that has caused them to be fighting for so long. And I just like, a lot of times I saw myself in a lot, because here in LA, a lot of the families are brown. A lot of them are, Hispanic in some fields. So it's just like, I could see myself in that mother. I can see myself in that daughter. I can see like, and that's what made me want to be able to just like, I was doing it for free. I'm not getting paid for any of it. I just wanted to be able to document like what these people were doing. Cause like, that's literally the least I could do. Like the least I could be able to do for these people who like deal with this every day. So that the least I would do is show up for an hour or two, walk the street with them and document like what they're doing to get justice. So yeah, and so it's kind of just been like that for a hot minute. For a while that was what I was doing, and then at the same time still trying to do my business in the middle of the pandemic, like my regular portrait, birthday work, blah blah blah, car stuff, whatever. So like all doing all that while also doing that. And yeah, so it's been a journey, but like I'm very blessed now that like I'm a contracted freelancer with a small publication here, so sometimes I do stuff with them, like, and like I've met, like, even though pandemic was horrible and crazy and whatever, I met so many people on the streets that like other photographers who have given me so much, like so much knowledge, are always there for me if I needed to text them and ask them a question, like have given me jobs, have thrown a gig my way or whatever. Like I am so beyond blessed for some of these people that I've met. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for, documenting on the streets alongside some of these folks. So yeah, and to this day, like they're still pushing me to try new things and be like, Ashley, you're good, do something with it. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Hell yeah, that's the kind of people you need around you. Why not people who inspire you and also feel inspired by you? And I'm sure that's what they feel from your work. They're like, no, like Ashley, like you're like, that's what inspired me to ask you to be on my podcast was your work. Like you as a person, you're a wonderful person, right? You're wonderful. You're
Thank
enough.
you.
You're enough. But your work is inspiring. Your work is impactful. I personally can't wait to see what else you do in the future, Ashley. It's
Thank
really
you.
exciting, dude. Really
Thank
exciting.
you.
Yeah. I wanted to just go back a little rewind back to porches.
Sure.
Just because I had a question about that. So you were just taking photos of your friends' porches?
Portraits?
Portraits, but like, sorry. So yeah, please, like, I want to know more about that project because you said like
sure
portraits. Yeah, sorry, portraits. So yeah. Please tell me more about that.
So it was called portraits. So portraits on people's porches. So basically, like I made an Instagram account and whatever, and a lot of the things I was getting was like from my friends or were my friends, and like they were family members of my friends, whatever. It was a lot of that, but like basically I would show up to your house and we would take, I would be masked, I would be gloved, I would be socially distant. And I would just take pictures on like your front porch. I even like, a couple of people who like don't have porches. We just went to a nearby park or whatever and did it there. And that was like my way of getting back to behind my camera because I really wanted to be there. And it was really fun. I only did it for maybe like 2 months or something like that, or I really don't remember, but like it gave me a lot of like experience with working with families, a lot of getting back into my portrait work and kids and everything like that. So yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
that's inspiring. Yeah, just like again, kind of when they say that necessity is the father or mother of invention, right? Like you do something or you create an opportunity because you need to, because there is no opportunity, right? COVID had us shut down and we couldn't do anything. You lost your job with that company working with Tyra and whatnot. And that was a door that closed, but like, it's so cheesy. But when they say, when one door closes, another one opens. And it's hard to look at it that way, but that's why I want people like you on my show to kind of spread that message that like, yo, one door's closed doesn't mean you can't open a door, because the door won't open for itself, right? It's not going to open for
Absolutely.
you have to open that door.
Absolutely.
Damn, Ashley. All right. So you got the zine.
Yeah.
I mean, anything else right now? Like, what? Are
No,
you still going out on the
no.
streets? Is that still a normal thing for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it's died down a little bit compared to like 2020. But I mean, we're in an election season. We're about to have some elections tomorrow. We've been dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff right now. I have been covering a lot of the Kevin De Leon and Gil Cedillo and Nuri Martinez stuff, which is, if you guys don't know, is the city council, LA City Council. The three of them got, four of them, another guy from the labor union got caught saying a bunch of racist remarks on tape, and it was released. And Nuri, who was the president, she did resign after some time. Actually, the president of the United States had to tell her to quit her job, and then she finally did it. But Gil Cedillo has not left his position, but people are, I mean, he's going to lose his seat anyway to a really great person named Eunices, who I'm very blessed that I now live in her district, and she's really awesome and great. And then there's Kevin De Leon, who has refused to quit his job and has refused to give up his seat, and the people are just like not liking that and not letting that happen. So right now I think BLM is still they have a 24/7 encampment in front of one of his properties, well, beside it, next to one of his properties, and then people are showing up to city council meetings every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday to try and get them to not have the meetings until these people resign. Yeah, it's quite still a developing story. So whenever something does pop up, I'm trying. And now I live in like some of these neighborhoods that are controlled by these people. So I'm very much trying to like be as involved as possible, because it now directly involves me. So
Yeah. Again, harking back to what we said earlier about social media and how it's all connecting us, right? Not just knowledge, but news, current events, what's going on. Because we've seen so many times, like there's like that clip that comes to my mind from John Oliver's show, where he shows all these clips from different news stations from all over the country repeating the same fucking script, repeating the same rhetoric. And it's so exhausting and it's so mind numbing. But then TikTok, Instagram, all these different social media platforms allow people like you to share stories, share photos, share events of what actually is happening. We see videos of people showing what's happening on the streets live with police, or showing what's happening at these meetings with our representatives, right? Personally speaking, unless I was watching like C-SPAN, or if I was watching that specific channel, I don't even know the channel that shows all the city council meetings, or where I can see these live, right? But because of TikTok and because of Instagram, and people are able to cut these clips now and share them on Reels or share them on TikToks, you can now see like, oh fuck, okay, no, these meetings are happening. I'm getting snippets of actual moments of these meetings, of actual like important things that matter to me. Oh, okay, these are, because like if it's out of sight, it feels very out of mind.
right.
Especially when it comes to politics, right? If you're just an average Joe who's just trying to pay bills, who's trying to feed their kids, who's trying to fucking take care of themselves, which can be a whole task on its own, you don't have time to like figure out what's going on.
That's exactly why I post the videos from my days, like from my coverage, on my personal page. Because why would I put it on the page where, you know, all these people were basically already there? You know, like if I were to put it on Giggle Snaps, those people who follow that page were either already there or already know about the situation, or, you know, are more familiar with it. So that's why I put it, all the videos I take from action, on my personal page, because then I'm forcing, you know, like these regular people, girls I went to high school with, or, you know, friends I've met at Rockwell or whatever, like I'm forcing them to have to click through my personal page, through my personal Instagram story, to like to realize what's happening. And like that's why I post everything there. People are like, well, why aren't you posting this here? I'm like, no, because you already know what happened. Why am I going to put that there? I'm going to put that in this space, because people don't realize, like, a lot of the protests I go to or whatever, like, are happening on blocks of people I know, where, like, a lot of, you know, the husbands or the wife, or, you know, the people who are killed by police are killed, like, down the street from you. They're killed 10 minutes down the block from you, whatever. Like, then that, like, being able to actively show, you know, the people around me that this is happening around all of us is, like, super duper important in, like, in why I do what I do, is because I just want to how do people not know that this is happening? And it's because ignorance is bliss. If you are not seeing these things, you have no idea this is happening. You have no idea that, like, there's policies being made against you, or that there's people who look just like you who just got murdered down the street by people who were supposed to protect us, or, you know, like, those, it's that's why I force people to look at my Instagram story. And granted, like, I think Instagram, we obviously love it for, you know, creative visual people. Like, that's where we got our start. But, like, the algorithms nowadays just, like, screw us over, like, trying to tell these stories. Like, I will post a selfie, like, that gets 3 times the views in an hour than, like, some of my protest videos do.
That's weird.
In 24 hours. It's very weird. And, like, I don't know how that happens. I think there are some, you know, they can see when I'm posting at what time and whether or not they push it to the front of people's feeds. And so I'm not trying, I'm like, when I post on Giggle Snaps, I'm not trying to get followers. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm literally just trying to, like, document the world around me and, like, tell people what's happening in case they don't know what's happening. Because it sometimes is very, very serious. And I do a lot of pretty dramatic work sometimes, like, that can be very traumatic and scary. And, like, I put myself there as, like, and I put myself in a lot of danger, because if I didn't, a lot of people who know me or whatever in my world would not know it was happening. Like, I covered a KKK rally last year, and, like, having to, like, put myself in that position, like, it took a lot of time. Like, my friend and I, you know, sat down with ourselves for an entire week before that, and we said, wow, do we want to put ourselves in this position? Like, that choice to go cover that event is a lot different than, like, all the white male photographers or all the white photographers, like, who are just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna cover that. Like, you don't understand that, like, the position I put myself in. If I put myself there as a very clearly brown woman, and doing that sometimes has gotten me in some very, like,
hot water,
you know, hot water. And, like, there have been times where people, you know, like, some of these folks that I'm just trying to document have, like, come up to me and be like, go back where you came from, said, you know, like, dumbass shit to me when I'm just trying to document. But, like, because I look the way I do, or I'm a woman or whatever, like, I get treated in such a different way. So, like, putting myself in these spaces is, like, very much intentional, because I need to tell from my perspective. If I wasn't there, all you're going to get is the perspective of a white man who went to go cover this event. So, like, now you have the perspective of a brown woman who put herself in that position, and will provide a much different perspective than anybody else you probably may see on a mainstream media or anything like that.
Damn, yeah. Ashley. Wow.
Yeah.
I just need to sit with that for a moment. You had to take a whole week to talk to your partner, your friend who was going to go with you to this KKK rally, just to come to terms if you're going to do it. Cause yeah, that's intense, dude. Like, cause I've seen videos of men who are not white guys, you know, maybe a black guy or Latino guy going to these rallies. Right. And you might be a person of color, but you're still a man, right? There might be a sense of, there's still that sense of safety, or because you're a guy, and usually they're, you know, taller guys, you know, guys who look like they can handle themselves. But for you, as not just a woman of color, a person of color, but a woman too, like that,
and short and small, who, like, can't push my way through some of these things or whatever. Like, some of these guys, like, they can, you know, get certain perspectives or do certain things because, like, oh, they're so tall and they can sneak through or whatever. They're guys, and, like, security will act a certain way towards them. Like, I've had, like, you know, security from different organizations who are, like, supposed to be, like, on our sides or whatever, but they've like put their hands on me and like tried to move me like while I'm trying to document or whatever, or like try and block my camera. And I'm like, what is happening here? Like, you didn't do that to like the 4 other male photographers who just walked right in front of me. Like, what is happening right now? So that's happened a lot. And I think, or I've had like men who just like shoot over my shoulder and just like steal my shots or whatever. It happens all the time. And like, it's kind of just like what you signed up for, but it's also something that like a lot of us are trying to change and like trying to, you know, trying to be more vocal about and get things to be better. So
yeah, because
it's a work in progress.
I bet. Yeah. I can't even imagine what it is for you though, like having someone shoot over you. And I wonder, I'll ask you better yet, instead of assuming, right? When that happens to you, when something like that happens to you, when someone's trying to shoot over you, or when someone's being condescending to you, or whatever it is, they're looking down to you because of who you are, right? Do you feel like there's a part of you that needs to restrain yourself because of who you are? Being a woman, being a, woman of color and all that, like, because of that, do you feel like you have to restrain yourself?
I mean, sometimes, yes. I think there's always that like little level of like, if I go crazy right now, if I get a little louder, you're going to think I'm just a crazy woman who, you know, or I'm a crazy Latin woman who's just going to yell at you and do all these things. Like, that's what I do have to like control, like my emotions. And then on top of that, if I have a press badge on, like, I'm there to work. I'm not there to argue or fight or do anything like that. Like, I am here to work, and I'm going to just do what I need to do, which is to document and to capture. And that means all fields. I'm going to capture everybody and do what I can, but also like what I want to show, and what for me is like, if it's in front of my face, if my camera's in front of my face, it's what I see. And so that means that it's happening. It means that, you know, it's there, and I had to be professional about it. Because if I'm not, then what am I going to be seen as? Am I going to be seen as, you know, crazy? Like, am I going to be seen as bossy? You know, all that stuff. Like, but I think that's something that's just a life thing. I think that's what all women have to do every day of their lives is like try and like be this little image. And like, not all the time I'm doing that, but there are certain times where like I recognize the space I'm in and whether or not it's a safe space for me to be myself, or if I have to be kind of on and like present myself in a certain way. Yeah,
it just reminds me of She-Hulk, you know? It's like the Hulk's over here saying like you have to control your anger. She's like, dude, I've been controlling my anger. As a woman, I have to do that through the condescending remarks, the catcalling, or the, you know, because being with my girlfriend Stephanie, right? She's in the mental health profession, and she's pointed out like for a lot of women, especially, you know, like taking it back to like young ladies, right? Growing up, a girl will be named a chatty Cathy, or she's just being a blonde, and like there's all these little weird little remarks that women get put, like labels get put onto them, saying that they're this or that, instead of being like, oh, maybe she's on the spectrum, or maybe she's dyslexic, or maybe she needs help with this, or, you know, maybe we shouldn't, you know, put this thing on her, or maybe we shouldn't call her a bitch just because she's speaking up for herself and putting up a boundary. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like, that's definitely, I was wondering, you know, I didn't want to assume that's something you went through in your profession, but like, yeah, I can't imagine what that's like for you, having to not just be.
I mean, even just you asking that question, like, would you have ever asked a man that? And I'm saying like in general, would men ever be asked that question? Probably not.
Actually, if I may, I feel like a black man might say otherwise, you know, like I think of those stories of like how for black women in hospitals, you know, giving birth, black women in hospitals, how like it's hard for like the death rate for pregnant black women is so high. And I remember the story of a man who lost his child and his wife, and he was saying how he, like, when his wife was screaming in pain for help in the hospital and she needed medicine and attention, right? He had to keep his composure together so he wasn't seen as just another angry black man. But it's like, if he was just a white guy, he would have been seen as like a strong husband standing up for his wife, you know, or whatever.
Exactly.
So
yeah, essentially, if you're not a white man in this world, a cis white man at that, like, you're always putting on a little bit of a front in most places that you are.
Mm-hmm. Damn, I knew, man. I knew our conversation was gonna be good, Ashley. I wanted to segue us into my next segment of the show. It's the. Have you ever watched the Inside the Actor Studio show?
Yes.
Yeah. So
with
James
that
Lipton,
one guy in the
with the glasses and
yeah.
he's got the cards and shit.
Yes, I have seen that.
I'm a huge fan of that show, and I love the questions he asks at the end. So there's a set of 10 questions that James asks every guest that comes onto his show. And they're very, as I like to say, deceptively simple questions, but they're very insightful. They can be very insightful. So if you're ready, I didn't want to prep you for this just because I like to have this be a very raw moment. You know, I want you to just answer with whatever you think of. And I promise you, it won't be anything too intrusive of a question at all. I promise you, nothing too uncomfortable at all.
Sounds good.
And if you do get uncomfortable, you're just like, Steven, boundary homie. And I'll be like, damn, okay, set that boundary.
Okay.
Let's see. Get the questions out. So here we go. Here's your first question, Ashley.
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word. The word I probably say the most is probably fuck. I curse like a sailor all the time. So we're just gonna go with that.
I like it. It felt right. You went with it.
Yeah.
Next question. What is your least favorite word?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good. I don't know. Probably because I am a plus size woman, I don't like the word fat. Like F-A-T. I like P-H-A-T. Like, she's fat.
She's pretty hot and tempting.
Yeah. I don't like F-A-T. That's not, it's just not a word I prefer for myself. But I know a lot of people like to reclaim it and whatever, but it's not a word I like.
Fair enough. Dig it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question. What turns you on? Mentally, spiritually, or emotionally?
Ooh. Okay. Good question. I really love, like, passionate people. Like, I really pull, I go towards those kinds of folks. I gear towards passionate things, people who are doing passionate things and are like, yeah, I would say like that's probably it. Or like people who are determined and like, that's really intriguing to me. People who are really trying so hard to do something and show something or whatever, like whether that be, in this activist world or whatever, just like a regular person doing really interesting things. I really try to surround myself with those kinds of people.
Lovely.
Cool.
Next question.
Okay.
What turns you off? Mentally, emotionally, or spiritually?
Or, probably the exact opposite. People who are not passionate or determined, or like people who are maybe like people who are not willing to work maybe on themselves, or like that's not really what I mean either. Because like obviously sometimes I don't want to work on myself, that's for sure. But like people who like just want to stay stagnant or whatever. I'm always trying to push a needle or do something. So I think if you are trying to hold me back, that I don't really want to associate, on a major level with that kind of person.
Why do I feel like you had someone in mind when you were saying that? You're like, or you had a group of people, you're like, I don't want, you're like remembering that list, the list we all have.
Nothing specific.
Dig it. Thank you. Next question. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, do I love? My cat's meow. I love when she talks to me.
Aww.
Yeah. That's the first thing that came to my head. I don't know.
That's beautiful. That's enough. That's beautiful.
Sure.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Next question. What sound or noise do you hate?
People chewing. I hate when people are like, no, even myself. I don't even like sometimes to like hear myself chew. That's probably it.
I'm glad there wasn't an eating segment in this show or just like chatting and chewing.
Like listening back, I'd probably be like, this is weird.
Yeah, like, and we're on headphones too, so it's like,
right.
You're right.
Oh, I can't.
Oh, dig it. All right. Next question.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to like this one. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck. It's definitely a tie between like fuck and shit.
Oh.
But like you have to say it like that. You have to say like shit.
I heard that.
I think I got that from my grandma for sure. That was like her like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. You didn't hear that, like that kind of thing. Like whenever she was like really upset, she'd be like, shut up. Oh. Or like, shut up. But like in a funny way. Like, shut up. And you have to say it like that. Yeah.
Dig it. Thank you. Next question. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, would I like to? That's a good question. Maybe like something that has to do with like interior design or like home design or something like that. I thoroughly enjoy decorating spaces.
Nice. All right. Yes. Cool. I swear these questions again, you learn so much about people, you know?
Yes.
Next question. What profession would you not like to do?
I would like to never ever be a cop. There we go. That's a good one.
Solid.
Definitely not ever want to be anywhere near the police.
Dig it. That just makes me so sad though, because I feel the same way, and it makes me sad. You know, it's like, oh,
and it should be a very like distinguished type of thing, but they've proven that it has never been, and at this current moment is not happening anytime soon to be that. So.
Thank you for your answer. Solid. Very, very in the moment, very current event. Next question. And final question.
Okay.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
That's a good question. I don't know why the first thing in my head was like, "What's up, girl? Welcome." Which sounds so dumb, but I really just wanted to be like, "Hey, girl, welcome to the place. Like, your family's back here." I'd be like, "Alright, cool. I'm so excited to be here. Let me say hi to all my people I love." That would be me.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know why I imagine God comfortably in a muumuu or something like, "Hey, girl, come on in. Come."
Yeah, ready. Literally, like standing at like the front of the gates and like you're like, "Oh yeah, come on in." And like, here's the thing: do I also think that it's a man? No.
That's fair.
It's a thing. It's a being. Who knows? We'll find out. Maybe. Hopefully.
It's like I'll let you know when I get there.
Right. Might take some time. Hopefully not anytime soon to have the answer. But yeah, hopefully I get that.
Wonderful. Well, hey, we got it to the end of the podcast, Ashley. We did it. Now, this is the moment, like I said before earlier, this is the time for you to please share any of your Instagram pages you want to share, any other channels you want to share, your zine, anything else you've worked on. Please take the floor. It's yours.
Sure. So my two main Instagrams, because they're two very different pieces of work, is Giggle Snaps, Giggle_snaps on Instagram. That is where all my photojournalism work is. All my regular portrait, family, event stuff is on Moments by Ash. So my website for that is momentsbyash.com. My website for the other stuff is ashbalderrama.com. And yeah, I do have a zine available on my website, Moments by Ash, that features all my work from August 21st of 2020 from Tujunga. And it's a really interesting little coffee table type zine book thing. And yeah, I think that's about it. All my upcoming projects or whatever will be put up on those.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
This was fun. Good times. Good times. And, we're back to the ending. This is the outro. I just realized, look at that. I got like the shadow of a past pimple hanging around my lip, making it look like a beauty mark. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you, my inner thoughts, because that's what this podcast was always about. Just me sharing my inner thoughts, and now sharing inner thoughts of other folks, so you can get a little peek. You know what I mean? That's why you're here. And if you want to know more about Ashley, please check out the description below. It's going to have her links to all her social media platforms. It's going to have a link to her website as well. And when you're down there on the description, go check out the link to my stuff. Go check out the Stephen Brogan Cortez link tree. There's some fun stuff in there. And also, real fun fact, I put an OnlyFans link in there. It's not really an OnlyFans link, but people have been clicking it. So I know at least 90 people click that. And that's 90 possible consumers of media that I won't make that. Will I make feety pics? Nah, I won't. I haven't gotten there yet, folks. But we've gotten to the end of the podcast and to my favorite part, where I let you know that you're enough. You're more than enough. It's insane how enough you are. Okay? Bye.